Whoa, get it.
Welcome everybody to the first ever episode of Hunter x Hunter News of the Day. There will be definitely different news categories depending on what show. For this one, it's basically all the announcements, maybe weird things that are going on with the show, maybe something interesting that has gone on with the development. This is basically me discussing everything within the Hunter x Hunter world and fandom. So today, I have been summoned. I have risen from my hypothetical grave, which is my bedroom. And I have came upon some interesting news about a leak, essentially, of what looks to be a scrapped ending. Now, before there's any more hullabaloo or freak out about this whole thing, I possibly want to talk anecdotally what I see from scrap media, which happens a lot when I do work as essentially an actress from time to time. So with scrap media, what typically script writers would do, right, is they have a certain script for it, and you would have like draft A. There's like draft A is draft number 1. We normally go through like around on average 10 drafts before there's like a finalized version. So to me, it looks like this draft essentially that got released and leaked, it's essentially just first draft, maybe number 1, maybe number 2. But from the looks of it, with everything that's going on in the story and how the story is currently developing, I doubt that any of these would ever come back into fruition. But let's read carefully what we have, because I'm looking at the 20% to 50%. Yeah, I don't know about y'all, but from how I work typically with screenwriters and stuff and producers and stuff, anything like 50 and below, basically it's been scrapped. It's never gonna come out again. So it looks like with these percentages alone, there's really nothing to freak out about. But let's read the whole entire thing, right? So this is Togashi's ending. So for the ending, I've prepared 3 scenarios, A, B, and C. When considering the proportional reaction from readers ranging from satisfaction to dissatisfaction, the ending A is deemed satisfactory by 50% and then unsatisfactory by 20%. So think of this as essentially like Rotten Tomatoes, which one has the best like audience rating and which one has the best rating by like critics. I don't know if this got released to critics as well as like the general audience. Again, from the looks of it, it looks like I doubt even critics have touched this. So if there's like a low chance that critics had even touched it, I doubt any of these endings would come to the light, but especially not the one that's been freaked out the most about, which I think is ending D. It looks like ending D is the one that's like everybody's freaking out about, but again, it's also the one that looks like completely scrapped. So let's keep going, right? So reactions from readers ranging from satisfaction to dissatisfaction. Ending A is deemed satisfactory by 50%. That's still like pretty low, but higher compared to the rest. And then unsatisfactory by 20. This does not necessarily imply a high rating, but for me, reaching it will be secure in a way that doesn't complicate matters with excessive criticism, in my belief. So even he himself, and again, this is common within, I guess, the film world in general, 50 is a pretty low rating. You want to get at least an 80 from what I've seen. Anything below 80 is honestly, with Wonk, the closest that they'll get to releasing anything with like somewhat of a high praise is somewhere in the 70s. Anywhere below that, we're looking like really low and like unsuccessful rates, which is not what you want being anywhere within the productions team, but especially as a writer, that's something you definitely don't want. But yeah, he said these were like potential, in my opinion. I think most of these were scrapped already. I think this was before the story progressed any further. But let's keep going. Let's keep reading. So, as for the ending B, opinions will be divided similarly between satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Okay, so for ending C, I anticipate a satisfaction rate of 10% and a dissatisfaction rate of 90. So it's scrapped. Like ending C's, that just doesn't, that's never going to be a comeback. Again, when it comes to scrapped ideas, I doubt any of these would come back into the light again. So looking like all of them are essentially scrapped one way or the other. And think of this as like, I guess for people who love music, think of this as like an unreleased song and a released song, right? If there's an unreleased song, but the audience loves it, right? Everybody in the audience loves it. There might be a chance of the songwriter, re-releasing that song, but it's gonna be, even then, a different version. They're gonna have to recreate that song in a different way that's completely different from the original version. It's gonna be a revision of the song. So like, for example, I believe there was a song on Melanie Martinez, like Portals, right? And she originally had it, it was one of them, and she had the original version, and then there was the revised version. I know Lana Del Rey has like plenty of songs that are like that as well. And why I'm talking this with the music is so that you could better understand where this kind of mindset, when it comes to breaking written art especially, down in a more digestible fashion, to better understand where writers are coming from. But yeah, the dissatisfaction rate for ending C is like 90. So I doubt that would ever come out at all. Again, most of these are scrapped. I have to emphasize that again. So I doubt any of these would happen, but especially if the rate is looking like a high dissatisfaction. It's 90. So why do I keep it present even with a high rate of dissatisfaction? Because it's my personal preference. But fundamentally, I want to think of the utmost about an ending to the point where I might not choose any of the three and create what I find most enjoyable, which is my ideal and goal. To give you a clear picture, I'll share scenario D, which I feel out of the candidate scenarios for the ending. If fate takes me before finishing the manga, considering it for the manga ending, I'll be happy if you forgave me for that. So I feel like, especially with the way this is written, most people saying, oh, it's a joke. Like I said, for all the other endings, including ending D, I think it's still scrapped. So this is essentially, if things hit the fan and, you know, if things don't turn out well, I might have to just scrap everything else and basically just have this. I doubt that's what he plans. And I really pray, first of all, come around, gather around. You know, I'm a Methodist, so pray however your religion suits best, if you have one. If not, best of thoughts and wishes, right? Gather around and pray, all things aside, that Togashi is like okay. I'm pretty sure, like, for now, I wouldn't say healthy, but he's stable, right? So like, he's here. Let's all gather around and pray that he doesn't like pass away or something bad happens to him. We hope that his health turns out to be the best, right? we believe, at least in this news channel, right, the best for people. Now, it may depend on the person, but Togashi, I doubt, is the type of person that you would really wish bad on. So, like, let's gather around and pray. Or bring our well wishes to make sure that he's healthy. Okay? Because this really seems like a emergency type of protocol. Like, if everything else hits the fan. But all in all, I think, again, these are just scrapped ideas. Like I said before, the music, this seems like draft one. Like, I doubt when he was writing this, because this seems like before we know anything about, like, all the characters that we are well aware of. Yeah, this really looks like, it looks last minute kind of thing. Like, let's read this and break it down carefully. So, next to the lake, a girl named Jin, holding a fishing rod, stands motionless. Suddenly, the rod shakes violently, and Jin, startled, exclaims, "I got him! I got the Lake Lord!" She skillfully lifts from the Lake Lord onto her shoulders and stands before a woman, saying, "As I promised, I caught the Lake Lord, Mom." Jin approaches the woman and passionately declares, "You must not tell me again. You must become a hunter." The woman, with no tricks left, nods her head. Jin, still carefully carrying the Lake Lord on her shoulder, walks away. The mother comments to her husband that Jin's dream is to never leave the island and inherit their place. The father agrees, laughing, and the mother expresses her dissatisfaction, saying, "Perhaps her desires will change later, but I want to know you and Jin. Why are you like this?" Right? So, based off of what we read so far, we can pretty much indicate that the husband is probably a grown-up version of Gon. Most people have assumed that, so great on using context clues, right, for that alone. So, continuing on, but I want to know you and Jin, why you guys like this, right? Surely it's because of the blood of Grandma Mito and Grandma Noko. So the woman seems unaware that Grandma Mito and Grandma Noko are not related by blood, and the father smiles knowingly. The woman, expressing her unwillingness as a mother, adds, "But Grandpa Gon was a famous hunter," right? Oh, so I said husband. It's actually the grandpa. Close, though. "And this girl will one day leave the island." Already I'm confused, too. Jin insists, "I will never leave." Although she's no longer visible in the heart of the forest, she hears her parents' conversation and responds defiantly. The father, amused, says, "You have a sharp eye." So I'm assuming the dad, I don't know who would be, like, the child then? I assume if she says grandpa. So this is like way after. Yeah, way after. Oof. Yeah, I'm confused already. Like, if this is the ending, which I highly doubt. Again, this looks like a scrapped ending. I'm confused already. There will have to be a lot of explaining to do. So the scene changes to the shop, continuing his work, to Mito. Also, father says you have a sharp eye. Mito, the Lake Lord, has clearly cut from his turtle sorting. First of all, he's going to have to explain if this ending is potentially high. I doubt it. But if he is going to go with it, which again, I highly doubt, but hypothetically, he goes with it, there still would have to be a lot of explanation for this, because it's like, Lake Lord, these are things we never heard of before. So there's that. Becoming a hunter, Grandma Noko quietly moves from his seat. That is a new character, first of all. I don't think we ever heard of her character before. Yeah, I feel like with this ending, it would still require a lot of explanation, and it's like, do we really have time for all that? Holding a plant, I caught the Lake Lord. Let's honor the whole island with it. yeah, this ending is not really making a lot of sense. I can see why people are freaking out about it if, you aren't really aware of like how scrap endings kind of work. And I'm not calling anybody idiotic. It's pretty reasonable actually to freak out over this, but at the same time, not too much. I wouldn't worry about it. You want to know my humble opinion? I wouldn't worry about it. I really feel like this is just a case of looking at kind of, again, that feeling of an unreleased song and being like, oh my god, it's unreleased. But in this case, it's like, keep it unreleased from the looks of how most people are reacting, right? Because if we're talking about Gon's character in general, right, and how his story arc is gonna have to be, essentially, with this, what seems to be way past post, so I think we're talking Grandpa Gon, yeah, he would be old in this hypothetical ending. So basically, like, hell, right now we're focused on the Hunter x Hunter adults, so current arc that we're in is the Secession War arc, right? / Dark Continent. The name is flexible. The adults are the main characters that we're focusing on. All the Hunter x Hunter adults. So, right, people are saying, where's all the other characters at with the adults? Because of how kind of like far away everything is, and if like Gon is old, there might be a chance that just like all the adults are like dead in this hypothetical ending. I know that sounds like scary, like, whoa, what do you mean? But again, I say hypothetical / scrapped ending because to me there's a low chance of this being the ending. There's a lot of holes that I'm gathering already. Who's Noko? Obviously we're not going to ask questions about like the grandkids or whatever, or like even the parents or whatever, but like I feel like the number one question people are asking is like, how the fuck did we get here? That seems to be the number one question, is how the fuck did we even get here, right? Who are these people? It wouldn't make any sense, because first of all, with Gon, unlike with Naruto, where like, you could argue then in a Gare, right, the ending was weird for Naruto and stuff like that, but at least we know who Hinata, for like Naruto, like the character specifically, at least we know who Hinata is. With this one, it's more so just like asking, who the fuck are these people? We didn't even know he had any female love interest, and from the looks of it, the only potential love interest that he has, like shipping aside, just from the looks of it, seemed to be, in everybody's humble opinion, it's like the only love interest you seem to have, but not really because you're kids and you can't really tell, it's like Killua. But like, who are these people? Who is this bitch? That's really the question that everyone would be asking. I feel like it doesn't make enough sense for it to come into fruition. It really does seem like something that may have come from the drafts before we truly knew like Gon and all the other characters, and now that we're just way deep in the story to the point that their characters are now like developed and or developing, to the point that I can confidently say it's probably going to ruin the development of these characters, right? Because for Gon, first thing that we're worried about, right, because he's currently in school and stuff, I think because he lost his powers, I feel like everybody who's focusing on Gon's character, their main question is, okay, does he get his powers back, right? Is that hero's journey that was on pause for so long, is there a potential of that hero's journey returning? Because it was already kind of completed, right? Because his hero's journey was, I'm going to meet my dad and become kind of like this great hunter, which he kind of already did in a way. So for a lot of people, at least for the kids, Gon's story seems to be the only kid story that's complete. To me, I feel like the kid that should have more so of a focus should be, in my humble opinion, like, I know Gon's the main character, so of course there'll still be a focus back to him, but it really depends on like if he wants to go on another hero's journey to like find his powers and maybe learn how to use them differently. Maybe instead of using his powers in rash moments of anger that kids typically have, but especially for a kid like him. I'll probably analyze Gon's character later, but it just seems like, to me, for Gon's character, a lot of people can probably agree with me on this, his story seems kind of done. Versus like Killua, he has the potential for further development. I feel like if there's any kid within the series that needs more development or needs more time becoming a fuller person, it would be Killua. I feel like we haven't given enough attention to that character development for him. Right? Because right now he's kind of just like finding himself away from the Zoldyck family, and for so long him as well as his siblings, I've discussed this before, their only purpose was them being like assassins and stuff. I don't know if Togashi would do like a separate series for like the Zoldicks themselves, because they are kind of like iconic secondary / deuterogonist characters, but he absolutely should. That should be something that's like well considered. But anyways, going back to that whole entire thing, right? I feel like Killua should probably be the character that we should focus on for like kid characters, along with like Alika. For Alika, I kind of want to focus on how she might end up developing, like better controlling Nanaka, like her powers and stuff like that. And I've been hearing around the grapevine that there's a chance of her being a specialist. I kind of want to see that, right? There's just so much to the story and so many different characters that to me require more development, to the point where this ending, it just doesn't seem like it makes the most sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't seem like it makes the most sense, but then again, there's a small chance, and again, small, I'm pausing because there's a small chance I could be wrong, and we have to remember that. But I think my percentage on how correct I am as far as like all of these being scrapped ideas, I would say a good 96, 97. Hell, I'll even be confident enough to say 99% chance that all of these ideas are scrapped. I doubt they're going to come into fruition. Now there are some things going around saying, is this even Togashi's words? Is this even real? There is that chance. Hence why I said, like, I'm strongly confident that if this is not a leaked, scrapped idea, then this could be misinformation. And when we take it from the misinformation angle, this is not the first time I've seen misinformation from not just the Hunter x Hunter fandom, but a lot. The most ones that I can commonly recognize, right, or the most misinformation that tends to spread around the fandom, I remember doing that the most was like Steven Universe, because that was also a series that was known for its long pauses / hiatuses. And during times of hiatus, people get a little crazy, right? Sometimes people would start creating like fake pictures to kind of fill in the gap in the hole of missing their favorite TV show. So this could be a similar situation. I'm not really sure if that's the case, but I don't doubt it either, because again, not my first time. It's also not my first time seeing it within the Hunter x Hunter fandom as well, because high amount of hiatuses, it tends to do that to people. It tends to bring out the crazy in people. But some characters that we're looking right now, again, all the Hunter x Hunter adults seem to be in the middle of their development, so I'm just kind of waiting for that. When I mean adults, there's a long list, but I think the main adults that we're looking at is Kurapika, Leario, kind of, but Leario is like in the background, so not really him as much. The Phantom Troop for sure, which I have some, thoughts about that. You know what? I might as well put it out there right now, since we're talking for this news site. So, like, the Phantom Troop's development, kind of the main thing that we are wondering is what's going to happen between, like, them and kind of, like, I said Hisoka and Illumi, because they're essentially working together kind of thing. So, like, what's that going to look like? What's, the battle, what's the situation is going to look like between that? How's it going to go down? Is it a high chance of changing? Because there is that slight chance that other people have discussed, as well as me a little bit, being like there's a chance the boat might just sink and everything's going to change. And if they do end up on the island, it's going to be like the Lord of the Flies situation. Like, there's so many story plot points that we need to think about right now, to the point where this ending, like this hypothetical scrapped ending, is the least of my worries. Like, the way that the story's developing, I'll be real with you, none of these endings make sense. To the very least, right? Like, I don't think this would be the final end, because there's just like too much going on. There's too much going on. Hunter x Hunter is one of those shows where it's like, I will agree, it's hard to end. But if it is going to end, I doubt it's going to look like that. It wouldn't make sense looking like that, because now we have more questions, right? Like, shit makes even less sense if the endings that I've just read turned out to be true, right? First of all, the number one question I think people are wondering right now, for anyone who favors Kurapika's character, is like, is he going to be alive? I feel like that's question number uno. And for me personally, I don't even have an answer to that. My answer is going to be honest and for real with y'all. I don't know. There is a high chance of him, if not dying, then I can't even say mentally damaged, because we're already there. You know what I mean? Like, we're already here on the mental damage part. But him, like, passing away. Here's the thing. I think the only adults that we have to look at, like, passing away might be anybody that's, like, in the Phantom Troop. I feel like that's, like, passing away priority number uno. Anybody in the Phantom Troop, they have a very high chance of dying. I'm sorry for the people. I get it. Some of y'all love them down. But as we know before, their, like, fatality rates are pretty high. Considering everything that's going on with the story with them. Because it's a reincarnated, right? And I doubt you just come back from the dead to die again. I don't know how that's gonna work out. I'm not gonna doubt the chance of that, but it's also looking pretty low. I don't think it's going nowhere. So, like, the people that like him, I'm sure you think that's probably good news. Again, I could be wrong on that. But for the people that don't, it'd be like, man, kind of thing. It's a 50-50. For the Zoldycks, essentially, so, like, the two Zoldycks that we see on there, what's their journey gonna look like? I have so many questions about the Zoldyck family that, in my personal opinion, I don't think they should die, just off of me wanting those questions answered alone, or, like I said before, like, make an entire series based off the Zoldycks, because they are their own interesting thing, kind of thing, like, their entire story arcs, like, each and every one of them kids, the adults too, like, the entire family's interesting enough to where you can have, like, a whole load of material. I'm telling you, big bucks and big money for that family alone. Anyways, but, like, the two Zoldycks that are on there and having this part of the plan, and at least with Lume, I don't know if Kalito's in on it too, kind of thing. Right, kind of just like eliminating the Phantom Troop. So, like, the Phantom Troop essentially has, like, about 3 to 4 enemies, along with the authority figures there too. Kind of just, like, watching them and seeing if they gonna make any troubling moves, kind of them being on surveillance. So it's, like, probably more than 4 enemies. Like, there's a whole lot of enemies that the Phantom Troop has to go through. And there's a lot of questions I have to answer about the Phantom Troop, Meteor City, and their connections to, like, the Critter Clan, especially with, like, the Critter Clan, from what I hear. I probably have to go back and read it. I read somewhere in there, was it Kurapika's backstory? I'm pretty sure it was. I probably have to go back to read that. But I'm pretty sure they were considered, like, this is the part that people are gonna kill me over. But I might as well speak my truth. I think they're considered, like, settlers. Like, they're not native to the land. They settled there. I don't know about y'all, but to me, that's red flag number uno. Maybe it's personal experience as a person of color. But I never get good vibes from like Settler. The only thing I'll say about that, right, if it's going the way I think it's going, is I don't want them to fuck it up the same way that they Star versus the Forces of Evil team messed that one up, right? Because if it's going the way I think it's going, I hope they do it well, right? Kind of learning like the truth about class colonization dynamics and things like that. If it's going the way I think it's going, which for some people I feel like you already know where I'm getting at, I hope they do it well, right? Because I feel like even with some members of the fandom troop are going to have some casualties, right? There's still a lot of questions to be answered even about that and about Meteor City, because like we're incomplete with that. I don't think we're done with that one, because it's like whoa. It just looks like less and less. There's no reason y'all did it for random. That's not looking to be like a suffice answer anymore. It's like there's more to the story. We're gonna need to hear the rest. You know what I mean? Like there's just a lot to this story, right, between Meteor City and not just the Kurdic clan, of course. Also adding on top of that the Mafia, which Kurapika has worked with, and obviously that does not make his morality perfect. It's still in the gray. Because me personally, obviously I wouldn't know what it's like to have my whole family like dead, especially by like essentially a warlike conflict. So because I wouldn't know what it's like for that, right? I wouldn't know how to feel about that. But the situation in and of itself, I know y'all hate this word, but it is looking complicated. So I'm thinking with that alone, man, what's that gonna look like? I feel like with, Kurapika and like the Phantom Troop and Meteor City / the Mafia, it's like there's so many different points with Kurapika alone, because it's not just Kurapika. We have a whole entire story of a whole lot of different themes, like I've mentioned before. The issues of what could be, right? Poverty, of course, conflict-affected areas, what might be a colonization story if it's going the way I think it's going, along with just like so many other different like human rights topics, to be specific, to the point where we really got to sit and ask, it's a war. I talked about this with someone before, but it's like, who's right and who's wrong and what really happened? And I know there's a whole lot of governmental is not a word, government influence behind all these decisions being made. And to me, I said, and I'll say it again, that both like Kurapika and the Phantom Troop, at the end of the day, y'all seem to be like smaller pawns to like a bigger political game. So this is really a question about like not just everything I discussed, but also like politics. Like there's just so much to talk about, to where I feel like the ending that we have right now, right, the leaked ending, I feel like it's just scrapped. Like, when I really break it down, like how I am right now, I doubt that this is the ending. I don't know. I just really doubt it, guys. I really do. Kurapika and Phantom Troop aside, there's just so much else going on. The Secession War, speaking of which, I haven't even talked about, like, the Copper Royal Empire. Well, I mean, they might as well. They kind of act like the Romans a little bit. But it's like the Copper Royal Empire. They kind of resemble more so like, which section of Europe? Was it Eastern or Northern? I don't know. They remind me of some European royal family. The Copper Royal family. Another characters I haven't even paid attention to, but probably should more so, is Morena. I have more questions about her, and her being like this illegitimate kid that wants revenge on the royal family. Obviously, we know the royal family is a huge political family, along with them being monarchs, and the type of monarchy what appears to be, to me, looks to be an absolute monarchy, because if it was constitutional, first of all, I don't think the Secession War would be that much of a thing, or it would look completely different from what it is now. So it appears that right now it's an absolute monarchy, and who the best leader is due to like kind of fighting rather than like showing them the political skills or how they are best with the people. Because again, I don't think it's like constitutional, because if it was constitutional, the secession war would be kind of less so physical and more so just like about like the brain, so about how you deal with like probably the political sciences and stuff like that. So yeah, questions about Morena, you know, her plan. What does she have planned? Is she gonna be kind of like one of the major villains? Because there's not as many antagonists. A lot of the antagonists that we did used to have, their, I think, character arc has kind of, not character arc, what is it called? Position has kind of changed. I know for essentially like Ulumi and Hisoka both, they are kind of a mixture right now of like antagonists / anti-heroes. That's kind of where their position is right now. I know for the Phantom Troop, besides being like still antagonistic but not really, like they're not even paying attention to Kurapika right now. They're kind of paying attention to like Hisoka more so than Kurapika. But I don't know if it's fair for me to say antagonist if that's the case, because they're not literally antagonizing him. Except, like, I guess you could say their presence is enough to antagonize him, but to me, I don't think that's enough. I don't know. It's up to the audience for that one, if you guys can decide if, like, presence alone is antagonistic. We shall see. But you have that. So it's like, what would you call that? What position would the Phantom Troop be in? They're kind of just like, I don't want to say in the background because that's not true, but it's like, I guess antagonists still, but for different reasons, right? So I guess in the case of the Phantom Troop, like antagonist towards kind of like Hisoka, and maybe later, depending on how things go, Illumi too. Yeah, so their position is still antagonist, but for a different reason. For Kurapika, I mean, despite being somewhat of a, not protagonist, like deuteragonist number 2, 3, he is more so, I never got to know officially what his positional standing is. I think he might be an anti-hero too, in my humble opinion. You know, I definitely wouldn't give hero an appropriate title, or if I am giving hero, the closest type of hero that, you know, Kurapika might be is tragic hero, which it's as sad as it sounds. Yeah, I don't have high hopes for that guy. I don't have high hopes for him. I don't know. His character is in a weird place for me, like positionally speaking. But again, the Kaken royal family, kind of how they are. I feel like the main antagonist that I'm looking at right now for this current arc is the 4th prince, because I feel like he's cooking something. In my opinion, I feel like he's cooking something, and it's not going to be good for the rest of the team. So who knows? Who knows what actions might result in whatever. It really is a mystery game right now, like anything goes kind of thing. But with that being said, before I kind of close this book and possibly open it the next day, this is my conclusion for everything that I essentially said. So, like, for the Hunter x Hunter endings, like I said before, I'm just going to say this. The writing process, for, like, writing in general, because I've been within the entertainment field for a little bit, since I was 13. Been acting for like a while. I know what it's like to get my first script and then getting another script and then getting another script, because it keeps getting written over and over and over again. So when I saw this ending, I got the feeling of, oh, this is probably script number 1. I don't think the audience is going to see any of this. This looks like script number 1 to me. From my experience, like anecdotally, I looked at it and I went, this is script number 1. Because the way this is looking, it is so incomplete. It's so incoherent. The audience is going to be like, what the hell is going on? This ain't making much sense. Anybody who's like, if this ever gets reanimated again, anybody who's acting for it would potentially be like, what the hell is this? Yeah. I have no worries about this one. I doubt it's going to be anything to worry about. But if there is that small chance that it is, I mean, this is a pattern for a lot of TV shows, but especially like animation. There have not been a lot of notoriously good animated endings, I would say. Like, it is kind of a sad reputation at this point to kind of have like, well, you know, animated endings tend not to be the best anyways. I hope with Togashi's work, that's not the case. I mean, Yu Yu Hakusho ended on a good note, so all that we can really pray for is that this ends on a good note too. And that, again, we also should pray for, like, Togashi's safety and health and making sure that he's okay. But as far as, like, panicking over this, in my opinion, I really feel like there's nothing to panic about. Everybody's different. I'm not telling you to control your emotions based on how I control mine, but it's nothing to freak out over, and I really think it's due to, like, how I tend to experience just scripts in general. But also with the development of how Hunter x Hunter's like story tends to be, it doesn't look like it's the most sensical. And again, it seems like a rush job, the way that it's written. It seems somewhat rushed in my opinion, how this ending is. Like, this is way beyond the future. We don't even know who these people are. Like, there's just like, like everything else in the story, there's some thought put into it. And for this one, it just really seems like a stereotypical ending that you would find in any other TV show. Kind of like walk into the sunset, like it's a Western movie type of ending. Like, you see these endings in all these other shows, so this one's going to be the same thing type of thing. And I doubt that's how Togashi would probably actually want to end it. It really does seem like in case something goes wrong. Like, these look like, if not scrapped, then at the very least, emergency endings. Like, in case shit hits the fan, just end it this way. I'd rather it end this way than basically not my input being in place at all. I'd rather these endings happen than whatever the hell, you know, these major productions got going on. Because, like, hypothetically, you know, something goes wrong, right? And all production stops and they have to be like, oh my god, what do we do now? And for some hypothetical reason, it gets picked up by, like, either Tochi or, God forbid, I don't know if it still exists anymore, but, like, 4Kids. Could you imagine the ending they would have? It would be so... Is it Tochi? I said Tochi. It's Toei. Toei is one of the productions. It'd be terrible. Or, like, God forbid, they give this to, like, US media or, like, Western media. And it gets taken over. But, like, you know, by some random day, if that does happen, hypothetically, which is very low, let's all pray that it at least goes to, like, Cartoon Network. Because, bitch, if it ends up in the hands of Disney or Nickelodeon, consider that bitch gone. It'd be the perfect shit. I mean, it is about friendship. It's about human connection. But not in the way... I would say this. For Disney's animated shows, they have gotten better. So maybe I'll have, like, somewhat of an okay feeling. Somewhat of an okay feeling. I doubt it. Like, these are all, like, ridiculous. You see how I'm talking about it, how ridiculous it's all coming to be. All that we can really pray for right now is that Togashi's, like, healthy and okay. Like the text said itself, this is in case, like, things go wrong. And from the looks of it, it doesn't appear like it's gonna go wrong. And we really should pray like it doesn't go wrong. And he does end up healthy and okay enough to finish his story to how he actually wants it, and not like rushing the ending because basically everything's gonna be unfinished because the writer's no longer there. The second scenario that could happen, in case that happens, if these endings don't exist or these endings don't ever get released to the public, then like me and a couple other people have said before, he just gives the writing direction to his wife, who is also the creator, Naoko, I believe is her name. She's also was the creator of Sailor Moon, and I'm like, I trust her with the story of Hunter x Hunter in case things go wrong. I would trust her with that. But yeah, I think that's going to be the end here. Kind of just like a good old discussion of everything that went on today as far as like the leaked ending goes. And in my opinion, it should be considered a scrapped ending because I doubt it's ever going to go back out to the public officially. It just seems like deleted writing, kind of similar to like the concept art that you would see. And the characters look completely different from that concept art and be like, oh my god, it's completely different. It gives me that vibe. It gives me that feeling. So, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. How y'all feel. I have a Curious Cat, that's on my Tumblr where this is going to be posted along with Spotify. So, let me know what y'all think. What did you think about the ending? Were you shocked? Were you like me, where it was kind of a neutral kind of feeling? Were you like, oh my god, this is misinformation? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Let me know. And we're gonna end this right about now. Yeah, everybody have a good day. I'll see y'all maybe next time when there's something big going on, or maybe next time to talk about like just anything in general. Maybe if you want to talk about certain characters and stuff like that here on Hunter x Hunter's News of the Day. Send in your requests, send in whatever. This is really the page to talk about everything Hunter x Hunter. And if you like, there'll probably be different pages for different shows. But yeah, have a good day, everybody. And also, happy holidays, everybody. So, yeah, bye.